Hello, everybody. Welcome to part 2 of episode 7 of the Garden Revival BBQ with special guest Brad of Garden Evolution. In part 1, we talked about verticality in small gardens, and now we're back to answer our listeners' big burning questions. I am your host, IG, the indecisive gardener. Co-hosting with me is Space Butler. On the panel today are two fellas who make me want to buy more plants. Our guest Brad and BBQ mainstay ecologist Passiflora. Here we go.
We do have a couple of questions that we wanted to get to today, and we have a question from Arav, and Arav says, "How can you check for roots for a plant like holy basil with a normal clay pot and without destroying the plant?" So I guess looking to see how healthy the roots are in a potted plant.
I can take this one. So you want to slide your hand over the top of the potting mix and tilt your pot. I'm demonstrating this, even though you can't see it, but I have to be able to describe it.
Close your eyes and imagine it with your mind's eye.
Yeah. You slide your other hand at the bottom of the pot and you tilt it upside down and you kind of give it a little wiggle shake. With terracotta pots, sometimes the roots stick, so you might have to run a knife around the perimeter of the terracotta pot to unstick that to be able to pull the pot up and look at the roots. You don't even have to tilt it back over. You just look and you slide the pot back down. You guys have anything to add to that?
Check the bottom of the pot for the hole and see if you have roots coming out.
Oh, that's a good idea, yeah. It's always good to see roots trying to escape. It means the plant has a will to live.
Mm-hmm.
And is terribly root bound.
Sometimes.
I find when plants are getting really annoying with how often you have to water it, that's usually a good sign of it just being like, yeah, it's probably getting root bound at this point. If you have to water it like almost daily, there's a good chance that it's outgrown its home.
That is a really good indicator.
Yep.
Which, speaking of, I have to water my balcony plants, the ones in my hanging baskets, for the third time today.
Oh my.
So they're getting there.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, time to repot. But the best thing about having to repot, you buy bigger pots and then you have smaller pots left to put something else in.
Yep.
Let's move on to our next question. From Anna. What seeds do you seem to have bad luck with? I have horrible luck starting lupines.
So I'll start with that one. Lupines, if you're having trouble with them, you can either nail file the seed coat because they're very, very thick. And once you see a little bit of white, stop and then soak the seed overnight in warm water. And, you start out warm, it's going to get cold overnight. No big deal. You're not sitting there with a heating pad. And then go ahead and plant them and then just keep them really moist and they'll start growing. My best success actually has been putting them in really nice, moist potting soil and sticking them out in November, December, at least for us, right when it starts getting cold. Let them go through winter and boom, you have instant.
Yeah, winter
lupines.
sowing works for me.
Yeah, it's
winter
amazing.
Winter sowing worked for me. If you're old enough to know what that means.
No, nobody is.
Nobody is that old. Okay.
So, but as far as seeds that I have terrible luck with, I actually tried a black-leafed rose this year and had no germination whatsoever. Out of like 20 seeds, I was so annoyed. I wanted one, but I was lucky and got a seedling from a friend that I met this year. And now I officially will have one growing in my yard.
I'm going to say that I've had bad luck with anything that Joseph Tykonovich grows.
Oh, he's stellar at growing plants. It annoys me so much.
He's a next level gardener.
It is. When that's even master gardeners or even people that have experience like us, we're just sitting here going, I hate you.
I'm kind of like scared to look like too much of a groupie because every time he posts something, I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool.
I do the same thing. I went and bought his book.
This year I tried to grow Louisia. And that didn't go super well. Out of like hundreds of seeds, like, I don't know, like 4 came up. So that was a bit
Ow.
of a disaster.
What plant was this?
Louisia?
Oh, that little succulent plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Joseph just grew a ton of them.
Oh yeah.
Like your little butthead.
And he like breeds his own roses.
And hardy gladolias.
Oh
and-
yeah.
Oh,
All
he's
sorts
so
of cool
annoying.
stuff.
I love him though.
Gardening is a competition. That's the thing.
Oh no.
It's a competition,
See, the
and
one thing
he's winning.
I love about gardening is that it's not competitive. I don't like competition.
It's a competition, and he's winning.
He clearly is.
Yeah.
Our next question is from Nyan. Why do plants wilt after being stressed? Maybe Passi has some insight here.
Sure, but does anybody else want to toss in some info as well? I think
Not really.
The only thing that I can think of is either it's underwatered or you're overwatering. So just make sure your soil is actually like dried out. Like I use like the first knuckle or the second knuckle as an indicator. Because if you're underwatering, obviously you need more water. But if you're overwatering, it can look like the same thing. So I would worry about that first.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you nailed it. As far as I'm aware, like the biggest stress for plants is water, right? Like they look not stressed when they have the right turgor in their cells of water. So, if they're underwatered, then they look stressed. If they get overwatered, they can't pick up water properly, and then they get stressed. So yeah, that's kind of, as far as I'm aware, that's the big thing. The other thing that could possibly cause stress would be like maybe some kind of mineral, like a lack of a mineral or a lack of a nutrient. But like even wind stress, like wind just desiccates plants, and so it still just dries them out.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. I actually just learned we've had that big heat spell that just came through. Not only do we have that excess of heat, which plants stop like doing stuff after what I think 85 degrees, that with that wind that comes through, it's just it's a severe evaporation from their leaves of water. It's right, and then they're regrowing and trying to compensate. So I would say check your watering and then check the conditions that they're in.
Yeah, that's a big one. And actually, with heat too, a lot of people don't realize that the protein that plants use for photosynthesis, rubisco, which is a super fun protein, it works both directions. Like it can take carbon and start to do the whole making it into a sugar thing. But if it gets too hot, it actually starts doing the opposite, where it'll take sugars that it was producing and oxygen, and it breaks them down into carbon dioxide. So when plants want to be photosynthesizing, if that rubisco is too hot, it'll start doing the opposite. So yeah, like heat is real bad for, like, I mean, I guess it's variable because plants have a lot of adaptations for heat. But yeah, like if a plant isn't evolved to handle really high temperatures and it's in really high temperatures, it does a number to them.
So the actual metabolizing of things inside the plant is disrupted by the high heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I could probably find a scientific paper. I know there was one that I saw that was kind of neat, where it actually showed basically like on an environmental scale that like at really high temperatures, it's almost like the environment itself is like exhaling, because there's like an increase in carbon dioxide being released from like the plants, and they normally do release a little bit when they're doing their whole metabolism thing, when they're trying to grow, not just sequester carbon for photosynthesis. But yeah, it's really interesting how like after I think it's 35-ish degrees Celsius, like plants basically stop being able to aside from the ones that can handle it because they've evolved for desert situations or hot situations. A lot of plants just essentially just shut down.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, neat question.
Our next question is from Anna. This is a pretty open-ended question. What are your future plans for your garden?
Passi,
I'm
you
gonna
want
let
to start?
Brad take this one.
Oh, well, why me? I handed the torch to Passi.
Dibs out. Come on, Brad. I want to hear about your garden.
Yeah.
I saw a photo and your garden's beautiful. So you tell me about your garden.
Okay, so it's ever changing. Right now, I mean, I'm very fortunate that I'm getting to work with Monrovia plants. So I'm working on I'm redesigning my front entryway, which I haven't showed it in years, and my God, it needs it. So I'm working on that currently, but there's plans for a grow out section along the side of our house between us and the building that is just unused, and I need some area to get my winter sowing seedlings into there until I can ensure they're in better health and that I don't have to water them so much. So it's just going to be a nice little grow out bed for now, in a raised bed situation. And then I'm just reworking beds. I'm really just everything's in place where it's going to be for now until I get my future island bed when the grass is just too much. But everything's just being reworked into more of a naturalistic style, and I'm purging plants.
Fair.
Passi.
I don't. It's such a good question. I'm not really sure for my future garden. Like every year, I kind of like to do new things, do different things. Like this summer, I've been trying to grow as many sunflowers as I can.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, wow. I would have never considered you to be a sunflower guy. I don't know
like
why.
sunflowers. They're cute. They're nice. It's like a little. It's like a little sun. They're just so happy.
But your plant taste is so like, I don't know, like all these little rare things.
I like plants. I don't know. I like trying new things out on the balcony, seeing what does work and doesn't work. Also, to be fair, my fiance likes to use the balcony as well, and I don't want plants that are super poisonous or stingy or covered in spines there because I don't want to harm other people because that's already happened. It's already happened.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. Where she accidentally brushed up against my gimpy thing and caused a lot of pain in her. So yeah.
Oh no.
We're doing safe plants from now on where public people can be touching them.
I know somebody on the server is very sensitive to aconite. So I can picture you growing that, Passi.
I actually tried growing that from seed this year, had one come up and then it died. So I was devastated.
That's too bad. I'd love to.
I refuse to pay $9 for a plant when I can get a pack of seeds for $4 and kill them all every time.
More bang for your buck.
Passi, you're saying about sunflowers. Are you growing silver sunflowers this year? Silver leaf sunflowers?
I think they're just like the most stock regular. They were like the supposed giant growing ones.
No, I don't think these ones are supposed to be big.
Yeah, these are they're just the large growing ornamental ones. The ones that you're supposed to put on like a south facing wall, right? And they're definitely not. They're in like a north facing balcony, and so they're only like maybe 2 feet tall and they're already flowering. They've given up on trying to find sunlight.
No.
I'm gonna post here in the group so you can see this because I think you're gonna want to grow these. I've got one that I managed to get going at a late time, but I will gladly send you some seeds if you want to grow some.
Oh my goodness. Oh, those are pretty. Oh, absolutely.
I love me some silver foliage.
Yeah, I love silver foliage.
See, I'm not a big fan.
Really?
No, I love my cardoon. It's very silvery, but for some reason, silver foliage just does not resonate with me.
Well, to each their own.
I think as long as it's not a lot, I think if it's like a hint of it, like I'll post a couple different shrubs that I think like they offer a hint of silver, they can look really good. I like wolf willow, but the only thing with wolf willow, it spreads. Just a heads up, it grows underground little like, I think they're either runners or stolons, but they go underground and they do spread quite a lot. They look really pretty and their seeds are amazing for birds, but they do spread.
I can't get enough silver foliage. I can't imagine not liking it.
If you like that silver foliage one, First Editions actually has a silver foliage willow, and I have
that.
Iceberg or something like that. It doesn't.
Iceberg Alley.
It doesn't spread. Yeah, it doesn't spread for us, and it
doesn't do very well for me, unfortunately.
Me either. And I'm wondering if it's because my soil out where it is has Asian jumping worms, and it's pretty free draining. But I have a black cap pussy willow next door to it, and that sucker's, I can't keep it in check. So I don't know.
Right now, my Artemisia is sort of the same size, but doing much better. So I think I'll stick with that.
Yeah. When you come up, I'll gladly give you this other Artemisia I have. That silver.
Oh, what kind do you have?
Silver something from Proven Winners. It's that new one for this year. I've got 2 of them. You can have them both.
Oh, I almost ordered those, but I was like, oh, too expensive.
Oh, well, you can get them for free on your little road trip.
Oh my God, Brad, you're the gift that keeps on giving. Thank
I told you, when you come up, you're going to have a car full. It's purging season.
Oh, we have another question from Kale. What are some common gardening myths you'd like to bust? What's your favorite? Favorite is a weird word here, but like, what's something you hear a lot and you're like, this should not be spread?
Your biggest pet peeve.
Yeah, your biggest. Yeah.
Who wants to start?
I'm not going to say
go
mine.
for it. Yeah, you go ahead.
I don't want to start a war.
Oh,
so it's
do
all
it.
on you, IG.
No, you could do it. Come on, I'm curious.
Mine is about Roundup, and nobody wants to go down that little road with me.
You're fine on the server to say what you want to say, especially if you have research to back it up with. You can say it.
Speak your truth.
I have done some reading on it, and so the big Roundup craze was what I like to call an ambulance chasing thing for lawyers, and they did a good job at it. Now, the thing is the long-term exposure. If you're just a regular gardener using it here and there, and you're properly, have a mask on, you're covered, you won't get the burns of any chemical. Any vinegar can be a chemical burn.
Right, exactly.
Bleach can be a chemical burn, but nobody talks about that. But the big thing about glyphosate, it has a half-life, whereas a lot of chemicals that are being treated on lawns and a lot of other stuff that's on the shelves actually takes up to 5 years to degrade in our soils, whereas this can be gone in 1 year. And it's only a foliar spray. Mm-hmm. So once it actually hits in your ground, it's doing nothing. So why I kill out, like my whole long bed back there was all killed with Roundup. And I'm still alive. Everybody's fine. My plants have grown ridiculously crazy.
It's also not like you just made this decision and decided it's fine because nothing happened. You did research beforehand. You weighed the options. You made a decision having...
There was not enough cardboard that I could get my hands on. And there's actually research on the cardboard method that actually says that it can be harmful to the soil because you're blocking out air exchange.
Yeah, I've read about that, and I think it's a bit inconclusive because there just hasn't been enough research on that.
Right, and there very well could be, but I thought that was a very good argument.
It's a valid concern. I think any concern you have about something, you really have to look at the .edu websites, and you have to look at, Google Scholar is an excellent place to find information. And I think my biggest pet peeve would have to be people getting their information from TikTok. You can't just assume that somebody with a big following knows everything. A lot of people just read things on websites that regurgitate information. They literally just reprint information they saw somebody else with doing no fact checking. And you have these influencers just, spitting it back out. And there's this whole generation of young gardeners just taking it as gospel. And you can't do that. Not to say that there aren't really smart, really considerate, really careful people on TikTok or Instagram that really do good research and are scientists themselves even maybe that give good information, but don't take anybody for their word. Always look things up with reputable sources.
I think that kind of touches on my big pet peeve too, where it's less so much like people who are like social media influencers posting about stuff like that, because like I just written off a lot of those, and not everybody, but there's a number of folks that I kind of just written off. But it's a lot of websites where they do that. They'll have bots set up where the bots comb through websites, they find topics, they produce some like surface level informative quotey fingers article about something, and then they just pump these things out because the goal is to just hit every popular topic and then get clicks, right? And unfortunately, that's kind of the way it is with pretty much every hobby now, or every kind of passion, where so many of these websites, like really popular websites, are actually just essentially just a botnet that just auto-produce these, like sometimes even like less than 1 minute long read for a quotey fingers article. And it doesn't actually, it's not informative, and it's not well sourced, and it's not from someone who actually knows what they're talking about. And then it gets pumped out because it'll be one of the top results on Google, and that's just the information that people go with. And it sucks because it is really tricky to get, information on some plants, especially really niche plants, like really niche, hard to find plants. It'll be sometimes almost impossible to find growing advice on them.
Yeah.
I would like to mention, and I put it in the chat here, he was commenting that Roundup kills bees, get out. That it does, any chemical that you use does transfer into the bloom. So what I do is I mow the area, scalping it in the lowest setting. And then after I do spray, I do make sure that I keep up with the mowing so that no flowers do persist in that, because that is a big scare for me. Is if you're going to do it responsibly. Make sure you're doing anything you do in your garden responsibly when it's not an organic treatment. I will stress that a million times, but I will not be sorry that I use it.
Even organic treatments can be dangerous to pollinators.
Absolutely.
You can kill your bees with neem.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, also 5-minute crafts. That shit ain't real.
I thought that was a comedy channel.
But I'm just
You can't root cuttings with a potato.
Stick your banana into potato and you'll grow a rose.
Amazing.
It's just that easy. Let's go on to the next question by Earthling. Probably interested in some earth customs of gardening. Can I use the ashes of burned coconut briquettes as fertilizer?
Well, I'm willing to answer, although if anybody wants to jump in, go for it.
I have no idea.
So, you can use anything as fertilizer. It's just whether or not it'll be good or successful. And I don't think this would actually be a very useful fertilizer because, unfortunately, coconut husk is super low in nutrients that plants will want or minerals that plants would want. And, when you burn it, it's now even less so. However, there is kind of a little twist to this. Even though it wouldn't make a really useful fertilizer, you could, because it's essentially carbon, that is helpful in and of itself. There's something called biochar where they take, I'm trying to remember what it is, but you do use, I think it's essentially charcoal briquette.
It's hardwood.
Yeah. And they try and combust it in an oxygen-free environment, and it becomes this basically pure carbon. And that's really, really helpful for people who have a really super high clay or silt kind of soil where they don't have a lot of carbon. And that can act as a great kind of just water absorption layer.
I've been using that biochar quite a bit, but I know just to piggyback off what you're saying with the carbon source, that's what I was immediately thinking. Really, there's no other nutrient other than being a carbon source. I think I've read somewhere with even fireplace ash, you're supposed to not use it in excess. You can't just dump it in a hole or anything. You really want to spread it around, kind of like powdered sugar on a funnel cake, just kind of dust it everywhere so that it's not too much.
Now you're speaking my language.
Raise your hand if you suddenly want funnel cake.
I just want to pour powdered sugar on a lawn now. But yeah, absolutely.
Just wait for the snow to come back.
No, please.
I literally have nightmares during the summer that it started snowing.
I think there's only 1 month of the year where it hasn't snowed in my province.
Oh my God, Passi, I'm so sorry.
I just keep thinking October is when snow starts coming again, and I get burnt out, so I'm excited for it. I'm always going, kill the garden. I'm done.
I get burnout too. I need those couple of months to just not garden. I love gardening, I do, but I do need to sometimes take a vacation from it.
Next question. Natalie Workshop asks, could I ask where everyone is learning their gardening knowledge from? Books, videos, online courses, or just learn as you go? I'm interested to learn more, but I'm not sure where the best place is to start.
5-minute crafts and TikTok.
Okay, I'm going to kick Passi from this call. Just give me a second here.
Well, great talking to you guys. Have a good night. I'll start off just by saying, like, I think that what got me in was being able to have somebody like my neighbor who was already a gardener to start working from and learning, how to start growing the plants. And then from there, it was going out and reading every tag on the plants that I was interested in and trying to figure out, okay, what's this free draining yet moist soil? What is this all about? And then, you pick up a book, you go to the local library. I'm 35, but I was a library nerd. I couldn't stay out of the library, renting books and bringing them home and just doing that. And then when I became a little more techie and, we could afford a computer with the internet, that information was there, but I was always a book reader and always reading like Fine Gardening and just meeting other gardeners. You'll learn so much. I wouldn't say when I dive into a hobby, I become obsessive and I'll read and read and read and read until I'm literally falling asleep in bed. But just take it slow and have fun with it. Don't get burnout. You don't need to know everything, and just have fun. You're going to kill something. Oh well, go buy another one. They're grown as crops.
Yeah.
Most of them are grown as crops.
Yeah, absolutely. And IG, where would you say your garden knowledge has come from?
A lot of it from Discord, believe it or not.
I can see it.
Learned everything I know about gardening from the internet, YouTube videos, Instagram, even starting with those regurgitated articles and then moving past them. There are some great websites that are sort of like little tiny encyclopedias, like Gardenia is a good one. It's not super extensive, but it lets you compare different cultivars. So you see how tall they get, how hardy they are. Missouri Botanical Garden is another great one.
Wait, question. The Gardenia, where is that option at on their website? The Gardenia one. To compare
You
cultivars.
click on a plant and then you click compare. I think something like that.
I never spend much time on that website, but I'm definitely going to use
plant comparison.
It's a very, it's limited, but it has a ton of very commonly grown ornamental stuff, and I refer people to it a lot too.
Gosh, Space Butler, you are on top of it when it comes to links and photos.
I couldn't do this without him.
Jeez, do you want to do my books for my business, please? Are you good at that?
I'm not sure if I have the bandwidth for that.
It's very small right now, so it's easy to keep up with. But yeah, go ahead. Missouri Botanical Garden. That's another great website.
Yeah. Podcasts are great. I love Margaret Roach's A Way to Garden. She's got a huge variety of guests on different topics. That's at least if you're not interested in all of them, there will be a huge selection of people you will be interested in. Joseph's been on there a couple of times. Loved his episodes. Keep coming back, Joseph. You should come back to the podcast. Before I discovered Discord, I kind of lurked on it used to be called Garden Web forums. They're now part of Houzz, Houzz, I think.
I can't get on that website.
Really?
No, I just, for some reason about it, just it's a total turn off.
Well,
to each their own.
That's fine.
There's not a single way to learn. I think the biggest motivator for me has been when there's a plant I see and it sparks my interest and I go down a rabbit hole. I love those rabbit holes. Like, this is my favorite thing, was researching that one plant until I feel enlightened.
That's fair.
And finding all these websites. And I love pinning images. I know Pinterest isn't for everyone, and I probably don't use it the same way other people do. but it helps me organize my thoughts because I like the visuals. I like to refer back to them. It helps me sort of like, I'll find a plant I like and I'll pin it into a folder that's like plants I want to grow or roses that I want to grow.
Minus plants of interest.
Yeah.
I think for myself, for like gardening knowledge, one of the biggest helps for me has been volunteering. When I was in university, I
yeah.
volunteered for like the Orchid Species Preservation Foundation. I volunteered for the university's biological sciences greenhouses. And like I got to meet people who are like, you know, they've been gardening or they had been taking care of these plants for like decades and decades. And, you know, they had their like little passion projects for the plants that they love. There's this local succulents and cactus society that I volunteered in. And you know, there's all of these different groups that I've met people where like they all have such amazing, you know, love and passion for very unique or different fringe things. And that was also a really great source of information for gardening too. So definitely look into like local sources or local groups for gardening, because I'm sure there's some local gardeners group on Facebook or something like that. And that'll be helpful too. If you're okay with being a little extroverted and going out there and just meeting a bunch of random delightful people, it's okay.
Gardeners are not a bad bunch to meet.
True.
Oh, also, just websites like stores like Plant Delights Nursery. You might not be able to afford the plants in their website, but what a great source of learning, you know, about interesting plants.
They have a
You
YouTube
won't see
channel
those
as
plants. Oh, yeah, I love their YouTube channel. Those tours are great. And if you're learning about seeds, like some catalogs are really good. Like Johnny's has a ton of information. Even if you don't buy from them, you can still use them as a resource. Even like the Bonide website, even if you don't buy their products, they will explain what the different active ingredients do. So there's a lot of places you can get information if you sort of filter out the commercial aspects of them sometimes.
All right. We have one last question here, and it's about everybody's second favorite topic, vermicomposting. Oh, this comes from Show. Can I feed dried nuts, dates, figs in a worm bin? How much bread or rice is too much? Any local Southeast Asian fruits? Okay, as long as they aren't citrus. What about blending the fruits into juice and putting in a worm bin? Any of you practice any of this worm composting stuff?
Worm voodoo?
Sounds like a Passi thing.
I have.
Does.
Can I just say, like, dates, figs, dried nuts, and like smoothies and too much bread? Like, I'm volunteering to be this person's worm bin because that sounds amazing.
The worms are eating better than most college students.
Oh my goodness. But I will say, worm bins, I think the big trick with it is moderation. I think you don't want to go too heavy with anything. Like if you put in too much fruit at any given time, you can start getting mold, and that can be an issue. Or like too much bread. It's a weird thing where you kind of got to play it by ear. I would recommend anytime you're putting like, you know, food into a worm bin or anything like that, put it in, mist it with a bit of water, and then cover it with, you know, like either some like cardboard or just like the soil that's inside of the bin. You don't want the food or anything like that sitting out where it'll either dry out, because then the worms will be much slower with eating it, or where it has a lot of air contact, because then you can start getting a lot more mold. Another thing to watch out for when you're adding like a bunch of fruits or anything like that to any kind of vermicomposting is play it safe for how much you're putting in at any given time, because if you put in too much, you can start getting with the mold fruit flies, and that sucks. Right? You don't want fruit flies by having fruit that's exposed to the air, and you don't want to have a bunch of fungus gnats from mold, because in both situations, you're going to want to just throw that compost bin out. Aside from that, citrus, it's kind of an interesting one, because like oranges, they are acidic. I think their pH is like around 3 to 3.5. But what a lot of people don't realize is apples actually have a pH around 3.5. Apples are acidic too, and acidic foods, if you put in too much into a vermicomposting bin, that can hurt the worms quite a bit. But it's not that you can't put any at all. A lot like tomatoes are something that worms love, and tomatoes are also acidic, just like apples. The trick is like an orange peel won't destroy a vermicomposting bin, but if you put in 10 kilograms of oranges, you're into a 20-liter bin, you're gonna mess up your worm's day. So just keep it in moderation. You should be okay. You don't have to treat them to dried figs and nuts and delicious smoothies. Because they're worms, they're going to be perfectly happy with whatever scraps you're tossing in there. Make sure that the moisture is kept right where it's not soaking wet, but that the soil that's inside of there is moist. And avoid putting in things like meats or bones, because those things, while they can get digested or broken down, they're just going to smell. And they're going to smell up a lot. Also, I don't think you have to blend up fruits for the worms. I think they're going to be perfectly happy if there's just an apple core in there.
Yeah, don't treat the worms too nice, right?
Yeah. You don't want them to get into the lap of luxury here. They got to work for their food.
Yay! It's game time! What are the rules, Space Butler?
I am going to read a riddle, and we're going to try to have the audience in the chat give their best guesses on what they think the riddle is pointing to. And if they don't come up with the answer, we'll have our panel here give their crack at it.
Let's go.
The first riddle: I come from Kazakhstan, juiced, sliced, or diced. Reach up and grab me. I'm very nice.
Well done.
We'll see if our audience here has any ideas for this.
B appreciates your delivery as well.
I agree, B, that delivery.
That was good. That was so good. No takers?
No takers from the chat? Okay, how about the panel here?
I have a guess. Can I guess apples?
You're correct.
Oh, freaking nailed it.
Nailed it.
Apples come from Kazakhstan, apparently.
That was the only thing that I got. That was the only reason.
I did not know that. Interesting. They are apparently also acidic.
B says she was going to say that. Why didn't you?
Oh, no, we gave you tons of time. You got to be faster with the next one.
Okay, we'll give more than 3 seconds next time.
Oh, nobody was typing. Okay. Next riddle. Cousin to Primrose, her suit to the touch, discovered by Baron for a windowsill clutch.
It's cousin to Primrose?
Mm-hmm. You want to paste the text?
Oh, yes, I can do that.
Yeah, I'm a visual person.
Any takers?
I think I got an idea here.
Okay.
What do you think?
Is it African Violet?
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Nice one.
Discovered by Baron?
Baron St. Paul something? Oh my god, I should know this because I just wrote this, but...
I just was thinking, I'm like, okay, if it's cousin, it's got to look like a primrose, and if it's on your windowsill, it has to be a house plant. African Violet looks pretty close. Let's try it.
And it has fuzzy leaves.
Yep.
Yeah, I like African violets.
Yeah, I like them too.
Yeah, there's a nice diversity of them too. I think I might try those.
I like them. I think they're just a straightforward, simple plant, but in a good way.
I'm going to stick to the primrose.
That's another topic I want to explore, grandma plants. I'm fascinated with the old-timey plants that people scoff at. I think they're cool and they deserve love.
My Oma has a jade plant from the 80s. So yeah, I would love to have a BBQ one day on just the boomer plants.
Oh my god. No, I was thinking more like Victorian era, not from the 80s. That's making me feel old.
Well, no, it's just she's had it for that. She's had it growing since that long. But plants that people have always loved, that would be a great topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next riddle. It's not drops of rain, and it's not morning dew. Plants don't have sweat glands, but they do it too.
Any takers? That's not our panel. B's typing. I see where you're going with that, but rephrase it, B. What is that called for plants?
That's what I was going to call it. I can't remember what it's called either. They're sweating over there.
Honestly, B has having the most real response to this. Definitely not. Like, I get it. I like perspire or like plant sweat. I feel that. I can't remember what it's called. Is it phloem loading? That feels like not right
Not
either.
the word. I don't know.
Phloem loading?
Phloem loading. Let me double
my
check
God,
that.
I need
feel
to look
that's
that
not
up.
right either.
That just sounds like a porn term, honestly.
Okay, plants are definitely bordering that all the time. Let's see. Oh no, that's just the loading of phloem to the different sinks in a plant. No, not
Okay.
that.
Phloem loading? Yeah, I'm gonna.
Big nope.
No, I got some videos on that. I can share them with you guys
Oh,
after
no.
That goes in the R-rated channel.
This is the
Yeah.
membership dripping era.
All right, so this is called transpiration.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah, you guys were close.
Yeah.
All right. Next riddle. Religion and medicine, drink and cuisine. This invasive tropical is prized for its greens.
Where is it invasive to? Here?
The Americans, but like middle and south part. Like maybe Cuba.
I think I know.
It's not mint, but you're close. Typing. It's not mint. It was actually mentioned earlier in today's episode.
Then I definitely know it.
It's not sage, but again, you're close.
Sage is a gooder.
What kind, B? Holy basil, that's correct, B.
Oh,
I was thinking it was Passiflora.
yeah, I was thinking it was Passiflora too, because I'm like, that can be invasive, and it does have the fruit, which is delicious. Okay, I was super wrong.
Well, maybe there are other plants that fit. I wrote the riddle about holy basil, but maybe there's something else that's used for religion and medicine and making a drink out of and making food with.
So I guess a fun thing, with passion flower, the reason how it kind of got its common name is because I think it was when the Spanish colonists were coming over to the Americas and they were getting shown passion flowers. They were like, wow, these plants are so beautiful. They remind me of like the Passion of the Christ. And so with this like riddle here, like religion and medicine, Passiflora, the plants do have an interesting medicinal property in their leaves for tea. So I was like, this fits so well, and I didn't even touch on these things when I ranted about the vine. But
that's my that's my shortfall with writing this. It wasn't specific enough.
Holy basil works better.
Yeah, but it's true that a lot of plants have been used for religious and medical purposes throughout history.
Yeah, and they might have been used medicinally. Doesn't mean they actually work medicinally, but they were used.
Well, I mean, maybe they taste good. Basil. I mean, if I'm getting some basil
chicken,
chicken, it'll make me feel better. Anyway.
True. Yeah. Psychological help.
Okay, the last riddle here. Bacterial, fungal, viral, genetic, sometimes hormonal, in celosia aesthetic.
You better write that one out. Oh my goodness.
He's typing something. This is going to be spoilered.
It is going to be spoilered. I'm going to wait to post it.
Okay. You're so close with that thinking, B. She typed celosia as coxcomb. All right, Passi. What you got?
I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's not monstrose growth. That's what they call it in cacti, but it's where it has that weird shoot. I'm gonna see if I can just find the name of it on the old Google for it. It's monstrose. There's a term for it. Cresting. Like a crested growth. But
what is the condition that causes that?
Shoot. That's going to bother me. I can't. The word is on the tip of my tongue and I can't get it right now. Dang.
You know how many times that's happened to me? I live in the on the tip of my tongue world.
It's going to hurt.
This podcast was light and fun, and then we got real technical on terms. We had to think.
Welcome to botany.
Welcome to Botany 101.
This was supposed to be an engaging game to get the audience excited.
I feel like I was a college school dropout, and I'm getting tested.
No, this is supposed to be fun. Okay, you guys want me to tell you?
Yeah.
It's fasciation.
Oh, dang it. Oh, that is...
Fasciation. There we go.
Fasciation. It's also called cresting. So
Yeah.
This is getting worse.
What, should I have accepted that as an answer?
well, Passi did say cresting, I believe.
He did. I
Yeah.
thought fasciation causes cresting, but maybe cresting is another word for
I think it's just,
fasciation.
I think it's just the cactus or succulent word
Okay,
for
well, then Passi got
fasciation.
it.
But yeah, nah, I didn't get the right word.
Congratulations.
Says what's right. Come on.
Yeah, you can get a gold star.
I'll take a silver
And a
star.
gold star for everybody who made it through this 3-hour podcast episode. Oh my god.
I like how you said you wanted it to be a 2-hour, and I just immediately knew it wouldn't
No,
be a 2-hour.
I said it. Well, honestly, I wanted it to be an hour and 15 minutes. But I thought, I don't think we can get it under 2 hours. And we went to 3. God, you guys are troopers. Thank you so much.
So this is definitely going to have to be a two-parter for the podcast.
Oh, yeah. We're going to have to upload this in 2 parts. Thank you, Brad Passi and Space Butler. And thank you to our very patient audience and everyone who submitted their big burning questions. And thank you to our listeners on YouTube and streaming apps. See our gardens on Instagram at Garden Rev. Join us on Discord to chat at discord.gg/gardening. And Brad, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Garden Evolution, and I sometimes upload on YouTube, but rarely.
Excellent. Thank you all. Bye.